to offer you the position of Systems Administrator with a start date of August 1st, 2005. Your starting compensation will be at an annual rate of $65,000. As we discussed, CMO's primary goal is a return to moral decency. Please remember that our mission is to bring back family morals and help us achieve those standards. You're expected to maintain the systems in a secure manner free from offensive material. If you have any questions regarding the conditions of your offer, please feel free to contact me. Sincerely, Samantha Jones.
Thank you, Ms. Jones.
Please sit down, Pam.
So what in your knowledge, what did Mr. Martin do to affect these policies?
Well, I just simply told him the high-level view of what I needed to be done. I'm not a technical person, and I don't get involved with the bits and bytes. Okay. So it was up to him to decide to figure out how to implement this.
Were you aware that he was using something called packet sniffing technology?
Well, again, I didn't know the details of the name of the programs, but I knew that he was using something, yes.
And how did you find out about that?
Mr. Martin would bring me reports of his investigations on a regular basis, and I would review these reports with him.
Okay, so could you elaborate a little? What do you mean investigations?
We had 2 incidents where 2 of our employees were trafficking in objectionable material, and we ended up investigating this. His detailed records showed the images, showed the IP addresses from the employees, and this was used with HR to dismiss them.
Do you remember what the images, the nature of the images, basically?
They were pornographic images.
Pornographic images. Okay. And so to bring this administrative action, did you use the images that were actually? Okay.
We used the images as proof to HR, and we retained them in our archives for legal purposes. We didn't want these kind of images on our network, and I was appreciative of Mr. Martin taking care of this in a proactive manner to avoid a hostile work environment for our decent employees.
Great, thank you. No further questions.
Do you have any questions, Mr. Banks?
Yes. Not sure where to start. Hi, Ms. Jones. Thank you for being here. As an initial matter, are you aware of anyone but the defendant having administrative or privileged access to your network?
No, I was not.
Okay. So you mentioned this incident with 2 employees. I'd just like to clarify. The conference was attended by many non-employees as well as your own employees, correct?
Yes.
You also mentioned that these 2 employees had images that were pornographic, were trafficking in these pornographic images. I'm wondering, do you have any training, or does your staff have any training in distinguishing protected sexual speech from illegal obscenity or child pornography?
No, we don't condone any pornography whatsoever.
Yes, okay, that's unsurprising. So is it fair to say that the reason you have this policy in your acceptable use policy regarding inappropriate material is because you and your organization morally object to such sexual content, pardon me?
Well, of course, this is my view, but it is also the view of the organization I'm proud to represent.
Okay. Were you aware at the time of the conference, let's back up actually, did you instruct the defendant to monitor the traffic at the conference using his, moral decency sniffer filter combo?
One of the aspects of Brian Martin that I've always appreciated is that he does not need explicit instructions. He is very proactive in his work and very conscientious.
Mm-hmm. Were you aware that he was doing this at the time?
Not explicitly at the time.
Okay. Did the conference attendees consent to this monitoring in any way? Let me clarify. Did they see this acceptable use policy that made clear that communications may be monitored?
I'm not aware that they saw it. It would be logistically difficult to distribute this to 3,000 attendees.
So neither you nor your organization distributed this acceptable use policy to the attendees?
Well, no.
No, thank you. Did the attendees sign any form consenting to the monitoring of their communications?
Well, again, logistically, that would
yes
be
or no,
difficult,
please.
But they should have known they would be
yes
monitored. This is America, after all.
Objection, Your Honor. conclusory. She is not a competent witness on this subject. It's irrelevant.
Are you asking for the testimony to be struck?
Absolutely, Your Honor.
Your Honor, I'd ask you to take judicial notice that that's a known fact that everyone knows.
If it were, we wouldn't be having this trouble with state secrets in our case. But anywho, we're off track a bit. I'm sorry, did you rule on
What
that
more
objection?
than striking the evidence would you like me to do, Mr. Banks?
No, I was asking if you had struck.
I have struck.
Thank you very much, Your Honor. So no signed consent. Was there any banner when people logged on indicating that they would be monitored? Yes or no?
No.
Signs on the walls?
No. It's a good idea.
Any announcements that were made during the conference?
No.
So you are aware of absolutely no notification to or consent from the conference attendees regarding the monitoring of their communications, correct?
No.
One last question. Are you aware of any pictures that are so dirty that by virtue of their dirtiness they could crash a network?
Objection, Your Honor.
What's the basis for the objection?
That's just a crazy idea. I've never heard such a thing in my life.
I'd like her to say that it's a crazy idea.
Yeah, you can answer the question.
Are you aware of images that by their content being immoral or dirty, that would affect the security of a network?
As I said, I'm not that technical, so I'm not sure. Should be researched.
I have no further questions, thank you.
All right, any cross?
Just quick question, redirect, quick questions. So when you found out about this, the occurrence with the senator, what was your reaction?
I was shocked, of course, because I was acquainted with the senator and was not aware of this aspect of his personality.
Okay, but in particular with your employee, Brian Martin, what was your reaction to the fact that he was accused of doing this?
I'm sorry, objection. What's the relevance of this?
It goes directly to your questions about the conference and whether or not there was consent.
Yeah, we'll allow that.
Okay.
Even though I did not know explicitly, I certainly didn't mind. It's my network, and conference attendees shouldn't be surfing porn. They're here for a conference on moral decency, so I approve that he was carrying out our goals and our policies.
And did you discipline Mr. Martin for this?
No, I did not.
Thank you. No further questions, Your Honor.
Okay. You may be excused. You have any other witnesses?
Yes, Your Honor. The defense would like to call Mr. Brian Martin to the stand.
Guys, please.
Mr. Martin, would you raise your left hand? Do you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth, which is honor?
I don't see the 10 Commandments.
Do you agree to be under oath, Mr.
Yes,
Martin?
sir.
Please have a seat.
Good evening, Mr. Martin.
Hey.
Hey. Could you please state your name and your job title for the record?
Brian Martin. I'm a system administrator for the coalition.
And how long have you been at this job?
I'm almost 1 year now.
Could you tell the jury what your job entails?
I'm kind of a jack of all trades. I maintain all the systems, make sure the network's up and running, monitor for security incidents, take care of any other problems that may arise.
And elaborate a little, what types of problems do you take care of that might arise?
Oh, everything from people trying to break into our network, to deface our page, any kind of illicit material that's sent across the network, I have to look for and make sure it doesn't happen.
And what do you mean by illicit material?
Anything that doesn't fall within the principles of our organization. You know, there's just a lot of bad stuff going around these days, and our coalition doesn't think it should happen on this network.
So what made you think that this is what your employer wanted you to do?
Well, she was pretty clear during our introductory meeting and the job offer and all of her direction after that.
Okay.
She said to stop bad things, and I did.
Great. And please tell the jury what you did to stop bad things.
Well, everything from monitoring the network traffic to looking at logs, any kind of suspicious behavior, anything that stood out as not falling within our guidelines or anything breaking our acceptable use policy.
So what's Flesh Reader?
It's a little script I wrote. Basically, it monitors all the traffic looking through images at the colors and pulls out anything that might be suspicious that would fall under the category of pornography. I find a lot of the commercial solutions just don't adequately do their job.
Okay, and so this will detect pornography on the network?
Yes.
And what do you do when you find pornography on your network?
Well, the program automatically saves a copy into a directory, and due to my job duties, I don't always have time to review every single thing that it saves, but it saves a copy just in case we need to initiate any kind of disciplinary action or legal proceedings.
So have you had to do that in the past?
Yes, we've had 2 employees that have kind of gone a little out of bounds. Both resulted in termination. One of them was Miss Alder, the other Mr. Sulo.
Okay, and again, did you save these images after you discovered that they were there?
Absolutely. That was the beginning of the document trail that HR needed to start the process for termination.
Okay. And then, does Flush Reader, what does it do when it hits something that's not pornography?
Well, like anything else, it's going to save a copy until it can be reviewed by the administrator, me, and...
No. What does it do if it finds something that's not pornography?
Well, if it's truly not, if it doesn't match any of the signatures, doesn't have any of the characteristics, then it discards it and doesn't save a copy.
So why did you configure it that way? Why does it discard it?
Well, if it's not pornography, then pretty much accept that it's going to be a normal image, a joke, some kind of humor or whatever, and it's allowed to go out on the network.
Okay. So turning to why we're here and the incident with the senator, of course, were you aware, were you informed at some point that Flush Reader had saved these images?
Oh, eventually I was, when Agent Amateur over there finally kicked down my door.
And so what about prior to that? You had no idea that
Absolutely not, no.
Okay. And why not? I mean, these were saved on your system. Why didn't you know they were there?
Like I said, my job duties, they have me working long hours, and I don't always have time to go back through the logs or to read all of or look at all the images that are saved.
Did you see the article when it came out?
After it was published, yes.
Okay. And so the first time you discovered the email, you said, was when Agent Carroll appeared and told you that this was there.
Agent Asshole, yes.
Objection.
Yes, Mr. Rome, you control your witness.
Sorry,
Sir, please, no profanity in the
I'm sorry, what was his name?
Agent Carroll is...
Carroll,
yes,
sorry.
Okay. So what did you do after the beginning of the investigation with respect to these files?
I cooperated as much as I could. You know, I gave him answers to all of his questions, and that's when I learned about the images.
What did you do with the files that were on your system?
I didn't really have a choice. He took copies of everything. Once I reviewed them, saw what they were, I deleted them, because I figured that, you know, what had happened was obviously punishment enough for him.
And did you send copies of those to anyone else?
Absolutely not.
Do you know a man named Ryan Bulett?
Yeah, he's a journalist. He writes about all kinds of stuff around the D.C. area, and yeah, I've read his stuff.
Okay. Did you send any email about the senator or the conference to Ryan Bulett?
No.
Did you send anything to Ryan Bulett in the last 6 months?
Maybe about 6 months ago, complimenting him on an article, but nothing recent.
Okay. So you did not courier this faxist, you did not send it?
Absolutely not.
Thank you.
Any cross-examination?
Yes, Your Honor. Mr. Martin.
What?
So, through the operation of your Flush Reader filter, you've accumulated a great deal of images, I suppose?
Sure.
That collection of images would include a great number of photos that are not by any stretch pornographic, wouldn't they? We've had previous testimony about sand dunes and family photos.
You said that might happen. There's been a handful of images across the time that wouldn't fall into